who's the worst witch in the craft. I watched that movie for the first time in a million years, and it's so sweet and pure and innocent and funny. And I remember making it. I had a really good time on that one. All the little girls and shooting out in that big building and meeting Tim Curry and Charlotte Rae and Diana Rigg, who I was just in awe of course. It was just so much fun. One of the best experiences that I had. It is a fun, albeit cheesy fun. Cheesy fun movie. And I was told to mention, to say, just don't go out there. And that's how I feel. If you can stay home and do creative stuff, then why not? All good things that you may wish for, may you be able to manifest them. May it all come to you quickly and in the best of ways. Because, mwah, bye.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. This has been an incredible week. I think we've really interacted well with our fans. We've done a lot of giveaways. So definitely stay tuned and plug into us. Speaking of that, I'll just shout out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. We got all of our episodes, our interviews, our blog, our store. You know, everything about this podcast is on our website. And definitely check out all of our social media links there. We're on all of them: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Subscribe, follow us on those platforms. And like I said, we've been doing a lot of giveaways. We just recently had the author of It All Began with a Scream, the book. We've been giving away a couple of those books, and we got a big return on that giveaway. So we're going to be giving away some more of those books. So definitely follow us on social media for that. One last thing before we jump into the film review. Shout out to our blood donors. It's our version of a Patreon. We have the one-time donation and a traditional monthly kind. If you want to come on our show, you got a movie you want us to review, we have that tier for, one-time donation. Or if you just want to donate monthly, we really appreciate any support. Like I've said in the past, it's not free to make a good podcast, and y'all's support takes that burden off of us, and it really helps us out. So we really appreciate all of our fans. Tonight is Brother Dustin's pick. This is our last entry in the female lead month, what we call it. Shout out to all these ladies, these movies we reviewed. They've all done a great job. And I'm going to let Dustin announce his pick for tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for this month, there was a couple that I was kicking around, a couple of different ideas, a couple of different movies came to mind, but I ended up going with Der Hexenklubb, as they call it in Germany. I went with The Craft from 1990, was it six, I believe?
Six.
This is a movie that I remember watching years and years ago, like probably not long after it came out. And it's just one of those movies that I know has a big following. Like it's pretty well, universally liked. I wouldn't say that it's anyone's really favorite movie, but it's got a pretty good following as far as people that like it. And it's one of those movies that it falls in that category for me. I really enjoy the movie. I think that the casting's great. And female lead month, what better time to finally pick this one off my list?
All right, I'll go real quick. Hadn't seen this movie until Dustin picked it. Just got to be honest, I wasn't really a big fan of it, but I do like the cast. I think they're all well known, well liked, I would say, outside of this movie. I like Dustin acknowledged, it definitely has a cult following, and I respect it if you like this movie. It's just not particularly for me. I don't know, the movie just drugged to me, and I really just never got into it. But I'm going to read a quote by Chris Stuckman from his review later that I really agree with, just about how this movie was kind of one of the first ones that gave women power, and it touches on a lot of like female struggles, stuff they go through, and I really appreciate the message it sends. Just don't really enjoy the movie. That's just my opinion, though. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, and I talked a little bit about this with the guys off air, but I always held this movie in very high regard. in my whole 90s movies rankings. I mean, it was right there with Faculty and Urban Legend. Screaming, I know J.L. Summers on a completely different level to me. But when I watched Urban Legend recently, I was actually a little bit disappointed. It held up better in my head. And honestly, this was a lot of the same for me with that. Now, I do still like this movie. It's just like the third act where I can be pretty critical. Um, but I still hold a ton of nostalgia for it. I still personally enjoy watching it. And like Nico said, I mean, he's right. It is groundbreaking on a ton of levels, especially for horror, especially in the 90s, where it empowers women. But shit, this movie straight up calls out racism too. I mean, just a lot of shit you didn't really see much of back then, especially. And now this also came out the same year, but before Scream, which I mean, shit, like Nev Campbell and Skeet Ulrich had a hell of a 1996, didn't they? This had a lot of Mean Girls vibes too, to me, and it was before Mean Girls. Now, this has a lot of issues, but it's grown a huge cult following, like you said. I mean, one of the best cover artwork too. Just want to throw that out there. Posters of any movie out there, and nostalgia driven or not, I really like it.
Yeah, so I fall somewhere in the middle on Brian and Nico. I like the film for what it is. I don't think it's some masterclass of horror, but I like that it has something to say. I think Brian kind of touched on the fact that it gave women power, and it touched on issues like bullying and cliques in high school, which not the first film to do it, not the last film to do it, but as far as popular culture with teens go, it kind of gave a real experience of what high school was like in the 90s. Just click driven and lots of name calling and bullying and stuff like that. I think a lot of people that saw that movie went, oh, I relate to these witches more than I do the popular kids, especially in the horror, community. And so I like that they see somebody they can relate to on screen. You mentioned touching on racism. It does that. So I like that the movie has something to say. I like all things 90s for the most part, as far as cinema and music. Like I gravitate towards that culture. Now this movie has problems. Where I fall in with Nico is I think it's a little boring in parts. I think it drags. The movie is an hour and 40 plus, like hour 45 or hour 46. You feel that. You really do to me. It doesn't fly by like I would hope that it would. And this is only the second time I've ever seen this movie. It's not one I've gone back to after the first time I watched it. So I was really intrigued to go back, give it another shot, see what it is. Cast is good. All four women crush their leading roles. It's not poorly acted in any way, shape, or form. Skeet Ulrich is a little green here, and I don't know if that's a wrestling term, but if it is, then my apologies. But he's a little rough around the edges in his acting in this film. He's much better as Billy Loomis in the same calendar year here. That's for sure. Just as far as his acting goes. And it could just be the different character, and I'm so used to him being Billy Loomis that I just don't really – my brain doesn't want to take him in as anything else. But again, script is okay. Witchcrafty and horror, not really my favorite subgenre. I don't know if it has much of a subgenre, but since this one is, it kind of falls into that. Not really my favorite topic of conversation, but it was interesting. It was definitely of its time, and I'm excited to talk about it.
All right, let's do it. The film starts with a stormy setting, and we see candles being lit and a chant being recited. We see three ladies sitting in a triangle. Ours is the time, ours is the power, they chant. Rock music plays, and we get a title card and opening credits in the clouds. We're now on an airplane, and we see these three people from the plane get into a cab as it starts to rain. They're dropped off at their new house, and it's got a bad roof leak. It's a big house, though, Dad says. Sarah looks through the boxes, and she sets up his picture. Sarah is back downstairs, and the door opens. We see this homeless guy barge in and ask if she wants his snake he found out back. She screams, and her dad runs downstairs and chases him off with a fire poker. Then Dad stabs the snake on the floor. The next morning, Sarah is dropped off at school. She can't sit at home and watch daytime TV for the rest of her life, she says. She walks into school and just awkwardly stares at the students. Three jocks pray as a trio of girls walk past them. Bonnie tells Nancy they need a fourth. Nancy says she doesn't. We're in a French class now, and the teacher calls on Mitt, who just jokes around and points at him. We see Sarah in the back mocking his French, and then Mitt mocks her now. Bonnie watches Sarah as she balances a pencil on the pointed side. Bonnie gasps as she watches, and Sarah loses focus, and the pencil falls over. Bonnie tells Rochelle and Nancy she's here, she could be the fourth. Sarah walks up to them and asks if she can sit with them, but Nancy gives her an evil stare and she leaves. We're outside at lunch now, and Chris approaches Sarah and apologizes for his friend's remarks earlier. She says her defenses are up and says 3 girls are also mean to her. Chris calls them the bitches of Eastwick, and he calls Nancy a slut. Bonnie has burns all over her, and he calls them all witches. He asks what she's doing after school and says she can come watch him at football practice if she wants. That sounds like fun. Sarah is standing by a fence now watching football practice, and the trio of girls walk up to her. Rochelle apologizes on Nancy's behalf from earlier. They introduce themselves to Sarah, and they invite her to go get coffee, and Nancy tells her Chris comes on to anyone with tits and he spreads disease. He's a jerk, she says. Nancy says come on to Sarah, and they are going shopping. She says she's broke, but to use the 5-finger discount. They ask her where she's from and why she moved. Sarah now reveals she cuts her wrist, and then Bonnie compliments her for doing it the right way at least. The 4 ladies go into a shop for witches. The owner is whipping up a concoction, and Bonnie tells Sarah to steal this book. Sarah asks her, they're really into all this? Sarah walks towards the back curtain, and Lirio stops her and compliments her ring. She asks if she's going to pay for the books. She asks if she knows how to use the candles, and then explains the colors and gives her a book that explains more in depth. Lirio tells Sarah she's a natural witch. It comes from within. They're walking home, and the streets are full of beggars, and the snake... I feel like it's going to be one of my catchphrases. I wrote him as the snake hobo from earlier runs up on Sarah. Sarah runs from him as he brings up his dreams on her. Sarah runs across the street, and the bum is ran over as the 4 ladies stare at him. All right, go ahead, Brian. That's my opening scene.
Wow, all the love for him. A snake, hobo, and a bum in the same
Those
company.
fucking snake
That's
hobos.
what he was.
All right, so first of all, I love doing like old Columbia Pictures movies because that logo, that theme, probably because of Ghostbusters. But man, that gives me all the feels when it comes up.
I have that. Yes.
And you know, I talked about Mean Girls earlier, but things that truly ripped this movie off 100%, Charmed, or right down to the opening credits. And Rachel True even has been on record as saying that people think she was in Charmed because of this. What does your boy know about Charmed? Well, I had an ex who liked it, and at one point we watched every single episode and season. So trust me,
I'm sorry, Brian.
It's a huge rip off of this movie. Anyway, and speaking of openings, like this title card feels like I'm watching the opening to Power Rangers from the 90s. Mike is going to touch on the budget for this, but it has the same budget as Scream did. And honestly, I feel like that this movie needed more of one for some of these effects. Shout out to Robin Tunney, who was fresh off shaving her head for Empire Records. Her hair is actually a wig here, which completely surprised me to learn now, honestly. And of course, Nev Campbell and Rachel True, who both do a fantastic jobs. But it's really friend of the show, Fairuza Balk, who steals this movie, I think. Shout out to her for doing the intro to this episode. Tunney is a great actor, and her character is so passive aggressively written, though she doesn't really feel like the lead here. But this first 2/3 of the movie is really, really what I like. Character development. I love how each character is pretty decent backstory and baggage. And they give you that to give that to you without giving you the dialogue dumps like a lot of movies do. One of the things I don't like, though, is this weird ass scene with the snake bum at the start of the house. That felt so weird and out of place. Now, I mean, I get the symbolism with the snakes throughout, but that scene to me is just so bizarre. It doesn't even feel like it fits in this movie. Him having a little sympathy and maybe the girls killing him at the end of this set of scenes, I think, one, you could have made it more obvious that they killed him, by the way. It was implied, but, two, I think that it would have made the girls like more, I don't know, holy shit, these girls aren't playing around, especially if you made it an accident and not really malicious intent. And I don't know, just my opinion. And a few other differences I would have made in our intro here. Fairuza describes this movie as cheesy fun, and it is. But I would have lost the noose in her locker because, like, what? And I would have made Nev have those scars like all over her face because her insecurities to me, I mean, they do to an extent, but they don't make a whole lot of sense when they're hidden. I guess it would be more powerful to me, if that makes sense, if they were on her face and seen all the time. Also, shout out to Breckenmeyer, who I think is the best written of all the guys. Although Snail Trail isn't exactly the dialogue I would have written for him to call a new girl coming in, unless.
So you're going to draw the line at Snail Trail, but you're just going to let Are You Plugging slide when we're reviewing? Get the fuck out of here.
He called her that in the middle. What the fuck kind of writing is that? That just can't. What?
It's terrible.
Again, you're going to draw the line at that, but I thought you were plugging.
Well, that's way worse than Are You Plugging? That's way worse.
I don't know, bro. I don't know, bro. It's pretty fucking close.
You put that, Are You Plugging, and Gobble Gobble Motherfucker on the, that's just 3 lines from the same movie.
You just got stuffed, bitch.
Yeah.
All right, let me get back to it. Anyway, so Skeet, I love his character, but I think it's weirdly written. I mean, he does the best he can with it. Mike touched on it earlier. Walking up with a flower, I don't know. And it's just, I just didn't like the way it was written. I don't know if it has a whole lot to do with his acting. I think it has a lot to do with maybe both. And that's all I had for that set of scenes.
All right, so I actually like this opening a little bit here. It starts out a little ominous, a little spooky with the candles and stuff. You know, I'm in very, again, it already has a very 90s feel. Again, you mentioned Charmed. Yeah, very, very similar. This early set of scenes right here, I'm with you, Brian. I enjoy them as well. They remind me a lot of the movie Mean Girls, which we've already kind of touched on, the similarities here. And there's a lot of high school movies where the new girl moves to town and, you know, everybody's kind of mean to her and stuff like that. There's a lot of those. But just the fact that it's 4 girls, you know, there's a boy involved, you know, very similar set of circumstances and very relatable, even if you're one of the guys. You know, you mentioned Breckenmeyer, like even if you're on that side, you kind of see this all the time. So I think that stuff, maybe not dialogue per se, but the script itself, the story is pretty well written, pretty relatable, as I already mentioned. So I like a lot of that stuff. I like the characters that we get here. I think that, I'm sorry, I keep wanting to call her Veruca Salt, but that's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I'm so sorry. I can't help myself. But I think Neve Campbell is really good. Obviously, this is before Scream, where I think, you know, Sidney Prescott is her best role, but she's pretty good here as Bonnie. Veruza Balk, who, by the way, I may be stealing someone's fun fact, is a real-life Wicker and helped in the aid of this movie on set. So I'm sorry for stealing someone's fun fact. I apologize. But I thought that was interesting because, you know, she also played the little girl in Return to Oz. And I always forget that. And she's, again, Vicky Valancourt, which, you know, I have some puns later just for you, Eric. Just for you. I have puns in this episode just for you. But I think she's.
So really I wonder, where did you read that about her being a Wicca? I actually read the opposite. I read that that's a rumor and not true, and that only she bought the store, but I didn't know.
Oh, that could be true too. Actually, this was a video that I watched. 10 things you didn't know about the craft. That's where I found.
Yeah, I read the same thing as Brian. Like, she bought the store and for research purposes for this role.
Oh, that's more interesting.
Had a lot of outside, research and outside resources at her disposal to research the role. But then she sold the shop after the filming of the movie, and that's what I read.
That's significantly more interesting. So thank you for that. Honestly, it is because her being a real life Wicker would make me. Everyone can love their own religion. Anyway, Robin Tunney, really good as Sarah. I know that, you know, she wanted the role of Bonnie at one point. The production team taught her into taking the role of Sarah. I think she's really good. Can't tell that hair is a wig. I'm going to give you the star of the cast to me, the one that stands out, and I think it's Rachel True as Rochelle. Like, I think she's really good. She brings a lot. Also, Call Me Sometime. Nev, you already know how that goes. Robin, you already know how that goes. Anyway. But yeah, I like this, you know, high school drama set of scenes. I kind of mentioned this in our review of The Faculty, if you go back way in the archives, where this is like not quite American Pie, like in the way the faculty is, but it has some of that teen drama rom-com charm to it here early on. Skeet Ulrich, I kind of talked about the problems I have with his character. I like I like how the four girls end up connected. The stuff at the shop, though, I'll be honest, that shop looks exactly like the it looks exactly like the weed shop or the one shop in the mall that the Adam Sandler character from The Hot Chick has, where he's like banging on the drums in the back and, hey man, you can hide your weed in there. That is what this shop looks like to me. So I couldn't help but go back to that and think, I wonder if Adam Sandler is banging on drums back there, which would be funny because that's Vicky Valancourt. Anyway, yeah. I'll be honest. The first time I saw the movie, didn't see the bum being run over. It took me by a little bit of a surprise. But you're right, and I have this, and this is my last thing, Brian. You're absolutely right. They could have hammered home the fact more that the girls are the one that caused him to get run over. It's one of those things, the first time you see it, you don't miss it because they say, I think we killed it. They kind of say it themselves. I think there could have been more emphasis on it as it was happening to let me know that it's not just some bum with snakes, being run over in the middle of the street. So I think there could have been a little more there, but overall, not a bad way to start the movie.
Yeah, so the opening set of scenes, to me, it absolutely kills the 90s vibe. Like, everything about this just has that 90s feel. And so I think it does play on nostalgia for me. Obviously, I was 8 when this movie came out. So it's not like I was in high school or anything, but, it's just very of its era, which I can really appreciate. The snake bum, to me, it was random as well. Like, I wish they hadn't let that in or put part in at all. Even if for the symbolism, even for the foreshadowing, like, I'd much rather the interaction they have outside the shop be the first time we see him, because it didn't add anything to the set of scenes having him be introduced at the house. Dad ran him away with fire poker. The only thing it would have done, though, if they just, they meet him when he's chasing her outside the shop, that would have meant his death would have been more of an oh shit moment, because it really would have shown these witches ain't playing around. So I would have appreciated that more. I think the school, I loved everything about the first day at school, because you could tell she's just like, movies sometimes really knock it out of the park, capturing that what it's like to be a transfer student, and I think this one does. Like, you can tell she's just kind of feeling her way through, and she's not opposed to being friends with anyone because she doesn't know anyone, so she's down for it. And I like that, these witches, they are seen as outcasts, and so it also makes the fact that some of them might be more willing. Hey, she's our fourth. Even the witchcraft aside, they're outcasts. They see this new girl. Hey, maybe we got a new friend, and so it pulls on a lot of things there. One thing I wish they would have done differently too is the pencil, like her balancing the pencil on its end right there. I wish they'd have left that out, because it hints at her being, like we hear, a natural witch and having these special powers. But if that's the route they were going to go, I don't think they exploited it enough throughout the movie to make it worth it. I wish they would have just left it out and almost made it like she's completely normal, but she just falls in with this crowd and starts practicing and picks it up naturally. Would have been more to my liking, I think. The last thing I'll say on this set of scenes, because I do think it's a good set of scenes. I think the dialogue is fine. I don't think that the dialogue is, masterclass, like you guys, the word you guys used earlier. I don't think it's that either. But it has that charm to it. It really feels like a 90s teen movie. So I can really appreciate it. Speaking of charm, you guys mentioned the television show Charm. Andrew Fleming, the writer, he actually has come out and said specifically this movie is a ripoff. He said that he wrote a pilot for a show and gave it to Fox a year before this movie came out. And they were interested, but it didn't get picked up. And then the pilot or then it did get picked up, I think, and the next year is when Charmed debuted, and they have the same theme song. It's just done by different artists, and so yeah, no shortage of similarities and ties there between this movie and Charmed. But as far as the casting goes, I mean, Rachel True, Fairuza Balk, Robin Tunney, all of them are phenomenal. Neb Campbell, all of them great. But the star, or not the star, but someone that I always enjoy seeing him is Breckin Meyer. I think that he is that perfect supporting actor for like a sidekick buddy. And, you know, whether it's this movie or Rat Race or Nico's personal favorite, Freddy's Dead, I just think that that Breckin Meyer is a fantastic
Hey, fuck
actor.
you, and you didn't even direct that at me. Fuck you.
Wow,
And I just think that, okay, I forgot. All three of y'all's favorite movie, Freddy's Dead. I think that it's about time Breckin Meyer gets his flowers. And I'm going to start carrying his torch and his banner, much like I've carried David Arquette's.
But is he good enough to be the main in Road Trip?
Well,
I'm thinking of Rat Race. Never mind.
Yeah, you're thinking.
They're all the same. They're all the same. Oh, he's in Road Trip too, though, right? Yeah.
He's in both movies.
Yeah. Hey, did anyone else notice that she said, and she may have just been saying it because she didn't want to go, but Sarah said she didn't have any money, but then she spends $20 at the whiskey store.
That's Mike Settle acting humble, but actually has a wallet full of
There
money.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Brothers, I wish I was as rich as you said I was, because y'all never see my fat ass again. Just kidding. I'd still do the show.
All right, the ladies run off into a spot in the field, and they sit down on this random couch. Bonnie says Sarah is the fourth. We can make things happen. Rochelle says maybe Manon will listen now. They explain Manon is like the god and the devil and everything. Bonnie asks if things happen to Sarah and calls her a natural witch too. They laugh when she tells them inconvenient things happen to her, like she'll be thinking of rain and then the pipes burst, or she'll randomly go deaf for a few days. Nancy asks if she can contact spirits. Sarah says nothing can make all things better for you, and she says they're freaking her out, and she walks off. We need her, Bonnie says. Yeah, like a hole in the head, Nancy replies. We now see Chris and Sarah on a roof together, and he compliments her head and kisses her. Chris says, let's go back to my house, but she declines. Are you mad, she asks. He says, no, it's okay. The next day at school, they ask Sarah how her date was with Chris. He's lying to the school saying they did it, and Nancy tells her he's saying she's the lousiest lay he's ever had. Sarah walks up to Chris in the hall and asks if they can talk. She pushes Mid away and asks why he lied on her. He says to stop begging. He doesn't want to go out with her again. He walks away and she says, fuck you. We're at the pool now, and Laura distracts Rochelle's dive, yelling shark as she jumps. Now we're in the locker room, and Laura gets pretty racist about her hair, and she tells Rochelle she doesn't like her, putting it politely. We're now in a hospital, and the doctor is telling Bonnie and her mother about a procedure to fix the burn marks on Bonnie's body. They warn her it can be very painful. She's on the operating table now, and the needle starts to poke her skin repeatedly, and then we see Bonnie scream in agony. We're now at Sarah's, and she's dreaming, and we see her cutting her wrist. She drops a glass on the ground, and now we see Nancy walking into her home, and the power goes out. Her mom hobbles out to the living room, bitching that Ray never paid the light bill. Nancy lies down trying to tune out the arguing as water drips on her face. Nancy invites Sarah to go on a field trip with them. We see them all on a bus now, taken out to a beautiful mountainy area. They get off the bus, and the driver says to watch out for the weirdos. She says, we are the weirdos. They walk into the woods and sit in a circle and hold hands and chant, earth, wind, air, fire. We now see the ladies performing another ritual where they hold a blade to each other's throat and say it's better you rush upon this blade than enter the circle with fear in your heart. When they agree, they share a kiss, and Nancy points the blade to the sky and stabs it into the earth. They all prick their finger and place blood into like a wine glass, and they drink of their sisters. Rochelle asks for the ability to not hate those against her like racist Laura. Sarah asks to love herself more and allow herself to be loved by more, especially by Chris Hooker, and she says it's pathetic she said that. Bonnie asks to be beautiful inside and out, and Nancy asks for all the power of Manon and chugs the glass. Sarah jokes, that's all you want? Blessed be, they all say. Rochelle looks up and points out all the butterflies around them now. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Hey, real quick,
that's what I
are
meant
you
last-
guys sure they weren't chanting earth, wind, and fire? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Mike, I'm sure they weren't chanting that at all, Mike.
Wait, what day did this take place on? Was it in September?
The 21st night of September. Thank you. Thank you.
God. Anyway, so that's what I meant. Going back to the last set of scenes about the snake bum accident, and they ran like into that field like something exhilarating experience, like almost getting caught by the cops for shoplifting or something. But I mean, I think I would have maybe if I was writing this, maybe had them a little bit more subdued. Like, holy shit, like we just killed somebody. But anyway, just my opinion. Fairuza, I think, so good here when she's explaining Manon to Sarah. Really makes you feel her obsession with it and her jealousy of Sarah right off the bat with just the way that she delivers the dialogue. But the next scene, it's a little hokey with the dialogue between Chris and Sarah, but the oh, you said no and then went to school and told everybody you slept with her, and most of all people gave a shit. I don't, to me that feels more like middle school plot line than a high school one. I don't know. Maybe it's because all the actors and actresses are in their 20s and not looking like teenagers like they did maybe in like Mean Girls. But hell, Rochelle True was almost 30 when she did this. She was 29, I believe, and maybe that's why I didn't buy the pettiness for some reason. I don't know. Also, shout out to Christine Taylor, who I know has become a big star since then. Since this, married to Ben Stiller. For those of you who don't know, but have any of you guys ever seen that old Nickelodeon show, Hey Dude? Or were you too young for that in the 90s?
Oh hell no! I watched.
No, hell no! I watch Hey Dude. Boom.
I was gonna say she played Melody in that, and I had a huge crush on her when I was young because of that show. That and Saved by the Bell was probably like to me what SpongeBob is, maybe to you guys. But
she also guest hosted on Wild and Crazy Kids. Just thought I'd let that.
What Wild and Crazy Kids?
You know what I mean.
Brian, side note: did you know that Hey Dude is on Paramount?
No, I did not.
Let's go.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I gotta look and see if Wild and Crazy Kids is on there. Anyway,
when you're out on the range. Okay. Anyway, so I spoke on it earlier, but big props to Andrew Fleming for adding this, into the screenplay. Rochelle is the only black person in the school, and this does not shy away from showing racism. Which, I mean, you didn't see this back then in any movies. Even Rachel True said that early drafts were about like an eating disorder with her until Rochelle was actually cast and she was hesitant. No, Rachel was cast, I meant, but she was hesitant at first, and now is very glad apparently that was talked about. I mean, that's a big deal from a movie from 1996. And again, just great character development for these girls. Lastly, shout out to the Dr. Brenda Strong. She was on Desperate Housewives, but if you're like me, she was a badass in Starship Troopers. And sidebar, put a poll out today, but I think I've decided that it's looking like horror sci-fi kind of a movie. Starship Troopers is going to be picked. I think I'm definitely picking that up. So, and yeah, shout out to Neve Campbell in this burn therapy scene as well. First of all, the effects look great with needles penetrating her skin. Shout out to Jim Banky and his effects team. But Neve and you see it again in Scream. She just has such a great performance to show like pain. It's just a great job here. And again, I get being self-conscious, but maybe have that burn on her face too, and really show why she's so self-conscious. But I mean, I understand as a studio why you don't want to cover up Neve Campbell's face in prosthetics, but hell, it would, come off halfway through the movie. But anyway, I love the line when the bus driver says, "Watch out for those weirdos," and Fairuza gives that big smile and says, "We are the weirdos, mister." I don't know. I love that line. And lastly, just a quick little rant here. Can we please stop this in really any movie, like the trope of people going to bed and wearing full on pajamas? Is it just like I live in the South, or have I literally never seen a female wear anything but a t-shirt, shorts to bed? Like, I don't know. Maybe we need female opinions on this. Write in. Is this a dumb trope in movies, or is it realistic? I don't know.
It's realistic.
It is. Okay.
Somewhat.
Okay. Anyway, last thing, and I'll get out of here. Nancy, the roof is leaking on your fucking head. I don't know if you noticed that or not as you lay down, but it's dripping water on your head. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I believe at that point she's used to it and doesn't give a shit. Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, so I actually, again, really like this set of scenes. This kind of builds on what the first set did to me. And so far, so good in the movie. I like the way once they, leave the road and go off to the side in the bushes or whatever, I like that scene. I think it's shot really well. It's dark. It's creepy. The acting from Fairuza Balk here is great. Her facial expressions really kind of sell that she's subtly evil at this point. You could tell that out of the four of them, she's the one that's not quite right. Um, and I think she kind of gets that across with just her facial expressions, the way she says stuff. I think it's really good. I think uh, Sarah, the acting from Robin Tunney, kind of timid, interested, but timid in what's going on here, plays that part really well. Again, not a fan of just this character arc between Sarah and Chris, all the stuff on the rooftop, the kiss and everything. Again, maybe it's not Skeet Ulrich's fault. I don't know, but I guess I just don't like the character and I don't like what he was given to do, especially at school the next day. Not a big fan of that storyline, although I understand why it's there. It gives them kind of a plot device. It gives Sarah someone to cast a spell on when at this point she doesn't really have anything. And I think, that's interesting. We kind of learn in this set of scenes a little bit more about all four of them. In the first set, we learned that Sarah cut herself. But in this set of scenes, we get a little bit more into the backstory with Nancy, Rochelle, Bonnie, especially with this skin graft or this skin therapy scene. With the needle and stuff. I think it's really good. Nev delivers a great scream. Yeah. Just saying. Anyway, all right. No laughs on that one. Well, fuck all of you. That's all I got to say. I thought it was pretty good. All right. It wasn't. But by the way, shout out to the scene between Laura and Rochelle. I think it hammers home the racism part. It allows us to empathize with the character of Rochelle as they kind of shout names at her every time she dives. She's sick of that shit. She wants to know what the damn problem is. And the character Laura, played by Christine Taylor, which you mentioned, just lets her know, hey, I'm racist as fuck, apparently. That's what I am. That's why I'm shouting shark at you or whatever. So, again, gives us a reason why Rochelle would want to cast a spell on someone. And she, of course, she had to be a pretty blonde. That's, a little bit of a trope, but that's okay. I like the set. I like the scene on the bus. I think that's really good. The We Are the Weirdos Mister delivered really well. This scene in the field, normally, again, not a big witchcraft fan or a movie fan, but this scene is really kind of creepy to me. This seance spell thing. I don't know the lingo, you kids, but this like seance spell thing that they do where they're, not swords or knives to people's throat and they're drinking, what's supposed to be each other's blood. It's wine, whatever the fuck. But really creepy. I kind of can't take my eyes off of it as they cast spells on each other or, where they kind of like gather each other's magic. They cast spells on other people. I think it's really interesting. So again, up to this point, the movie has me, and it continues to have me up until about the hour mark where I'm looking and I still have 44 minutes left. That's when I kind of start to teeter out. But at this point, still doing a really good job.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I think this set of scenes does a lot of good in building off of the first set of scenes where it was more introductory than anything. And this one provides much more depth, especially when we see Chris's true colors and we see what the dynamic's going to be like with him and Sarah. First of all, I hated that shit. The whole slut shaming scene where he's going to school spreading rumors, and like I hated that just because, like, I don't know about y'all, but like when I was in high school, people were fucking, and it wasn't like, oh my god, she's a slut, she's fucking.
And out of context, that line's hilarious. I don't know about y'all, but when I was in high school, people were fucking.
Well, also, slut shaming her for having sex with one guy just seems a little bit of a fucking reach based on my experience. She would have had to have been with quite a few of the football team members before it would have been like, oh my god, now it's something to make fun of. So I just hated that altogether. The scars on Nev Campbell, I agree. I wish that I agree with you, Brian. I wish they would have made them more pronounced or more hideous, more gruesome, more prominent. Because, at first she's just dressing like she's homeless or something. Like she's wearing oversized clothes and her hair's all ratty. that doesn't really show that she's ashamed of how she looks. It just looks like she's disgusting. So, I wish that at the very least, if you don't want to put them on her face, like scar up the arms and hands more. That way she has an excuse for wearing the oversized stuff. But if it's just her back, what are we really even doing here? But at least, I like the fact that we get the doctor visit, and it kind of lays the groundwork for, okay, well, because next time when we go to the doctor, it's going to be more powerful because you see that she's really, self-conscious about these scars, and her family is willing to do whatever it takes to try to heal them and give her a normal life. And then I like the glimpse we get into Nancy's home life, and we see how perfectly white trashy it is. It's just a tumultuous lifestyle that she's got going on at home with the trashy drunk parents, mom, stepdad, whatever the dynamic is there, and the power going out, and her blaming him for blowing the money, and he's like, it's a storm, go back to bed. So great acting there, great job of setting the tone of how the home life is for Nancy. I hated I thought they were trying to summon Captain Planet. I hated that shit. Like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like if you're gonna do a chant, do something else. Earth, Wind, Fire, Rain, Water, all this
Wind,
shit. Wind,
heart.
Yeah, there you go. Like since I'm a '90s kid, that's always and forever going to be Captain Planet to me. You're not gonna get me to take you seriously as witches if you're trying to call Captain Planet, because he's our fucking hero.
He'll take pollution down to zero.
Exactly. The rest of the scene, though, the rest of the chant, I liked. I like how serious they made it. Rather fall on the sword than enter with fear, and the cutting themselves and getting the blood in there, and sealing it with a kiss. The rest of that scene's perfection, in my opinion. But it's just it's just forever hokey to me because a cartoon ruined it. I'm sorry, but overall, though, I agree with what you said, Mike. There are parts in this movie where I feel like it's losing me a little bit as far as my captivity. This isn't it yet, though. This is still good stuff. This is still positive building.
Hey, did anyone else notice that Rochelle and Bonnie kiss on the lips, but Nancy and Bonnie and Nancy and Sarah don't? I wonder if that was a Feruza request, though. I mean, I don't know. It stood out to me because I was like,
yeah,
I wonder why she didn't kiss anybody on lips. But anyway.
I did too.
Am I about to say something controversial? But I'm sorry. When they start doing these chants and shit, I tune out. I'm like, abracadabra, what did he do thing or whatever, which is weird because I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter series, so I'm hypocritical.
I don't think it's hypocritical at all. Like I said, I think that you find it as hokey as I do when they start saying Earth, Wind, Fire. I think the content of the chant matters a lot and how they do it and how it's presented. And I think that a lot of movies, it is presented in a hokey manner. Harry Potter, you know what you're getting into. Like this is, number one, it's directed at children. And number two, it's, witches and wizards at a school for witchcraft. And it's completely, it's apples and oranges. So I don't think that's controversial at all.
That's fair. There we go.
Captain Planet, he's a hero.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna back up from the mic so Nico doesn't yell at me again. Here I am. I'm way back here, everyone.
Nico has no idea who Captain Planet is.
I don't. All right.
Oh, I knew it.
I'm just saying. Last week we did a movie about Bobby Boucher's mama, and this week we're doing a movie about Bobby Boucher's girlfriend. Now that's great timing right there.
I said
pal.
the same thing.
All right, we're in class again, and Chris is staring at Sarah. Bonnie tells her he was staring at her and is again. Chris is now following her and approaches her. He says never mind and walks away. He comes back and asks if she hates him. He now tells her about being a guy, and she asks him if he told his friends if he's a lying sack of shit. He asks to sit with her at Mass. Sarah has Chris carry her and Bonnie's books. His friends joke with him now. Mitt calls him Stepford Boy. Chris sits with Sarah and Bonnie. She tells him to pay attention. Rochelle tells Nancy, look, the spell is working. We're in Bonnie's bedroom now, and all the girls are chilling, and Sarah asks if they've ever played light as a feather, stiff as a board, and she explains the game to them. Rochelle lies down, and they set candles up. Bonnie and Nancy joke they might hurt themselves picking her up. They begin to chant, and Rochelle begins to levitate. Sarah opens her eyes and says, holy shit. They're all in shock as she's levitating. She says it's not working until she opens her eyes. She asks, "How do I get down?" Bonnie's mom knocks on the door and Rochelle falls to the floor. Mom asks if they are getting high. Well, one way they are. Rochelle says they got to try it. Quick shots of the girls at school watching Bewitched. Sarah walks past Laura and rips one of her hairs out. Laura cusses her out and walks away. Sarah is telling Rochelle Laura has split ends as she asks Sarah about the picture. That's her real mother. And we see Bonnie chanting, "Take my scars away," in front of Nancy. The next day, back at the pool, Rochelle is mocked by Laura again. Then Laura notices her hair is falling out very badly. Rochelle now does a great dive. Bonnie is back at the doctor, and they tell her they may need to do several passes before it gets better. We see on the monitors behind her scars getting better and better, and the burns seem to just peel off of her back. The doctor says it worked. Bonnie is amazed when she looks at the screens. Bonnie walks in class late, and Mitt and Trey hit on her. Sarah, Rochelle, and Bonnie are all talking about their spells working, and we see Nancy walk away visibly upset that her spell isn't working. Nancy is at home now, and Ray says you can almost see through her robe. Ray pushes Nancy's mother, and Nancy snaps. Ray now has a heart attack and collapses. They're taking him away in an ambulance, and he dies. Nancy and her mom are now told about Ray's policy giving them $175,000. What a sweet man, Mama says. The two ladies now begin to laugh and scream in excitement and hug each other. Go ahead, Brian.
So something I meant to touch on the last set of scenes, but I forgot. Rochelle, for her, like, not wishing harm or anything bad to happen to Christine Taylor's Laura, even after all that racist stuff earlier. I mean, that's not only big of her, but it's very deep writing, and it really shows Rochelle's heart. Which, I mean, I'll touch on that again in the last set of scenes if I remember, because I think it's kind of, we'll get there. But also, am I the only one that thought Nancy always wished for money and not mana? Because, like, until I had subtitles on, that's what I thought she said every time I watched this movie was money right there. It was until I was like, oh shit, okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense. And again, like in this set of scenes with Sarah making Chris carry her books and stuff, I mean, I totally get that, but I don't know, the giggling and stuff at the sanctuary and him going back and forth to her saying, never mind. Again, it just comes across as middle school shit and not really high school, or at least how high school is driven and, into me is being portrayed in movies. I mean, look at how these kids act. And then just by comparison, Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer, or really, hell, anything written by Kevin Williamson. I mean,
so you would have rather Chris got up on a table and did a dance number, like a song and dance.
Shut the fuck up.
The first Scream.
The second time tonight.
God damn it, the first Scream.
For the second time tonight.
I didn't say Scream 2, God damn it. I said Scream.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, a little fun fact here. During the sermon at Mass, Nancy's fate is foreshadowed by the priest as he's talking about Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge, and says, the moment man thinks himself as equal to God, he is lost. This levitation sleepover scene is probably my favorite scene in the movie. It's definitely one of the most memorable ones anyway. When Rochelle falls back on the floor, Rachel True actually ad-libbed the line, "You got to try this." Great addition, in my opinion. The mom busting in adds some lightness to it as well. And the soundtrack I haven't really mentioned so far, but because I think it's really hit and miss. The song here during the montage, it's Dangerous Type by Letters to Cleo. I think it's perfect. I think that's perfect. Now in other places, it's a little spotty, but I'll touch on that a little bit. Lastly, I just think it's such a powerful scene with Nev, and her asking for someone to take her scars and in the doctor's office. But you see, it's here where the movie kind of starts to shift. And I think it's great writing to have these girls, except Sarah, basically take their gifts and be totally, unappreciative of them and turn them from sympathetic characters to the mean girls, basically. But speaking again of the mean girls, like Sarah kind of taking the praise from the other two girls has a lot of that movie where the crew starts praising Lindsay Lohan and forgets about Rachel McAdams. A lot of those kind of vibes. Anyway, my favorite set of scenes, but the movie kind of starts to trend down after this to me, either here or after next set of scenes. Go ahead.
Yeah, honestly, your last statement is what I was going to start with. This is kind of the last set of scenes to me that really hits. I mean, there's not anything else that's good throughout the whole film, but it definitely starts to just kind of drag a little. I feel like it goes a little too long here. This set of scenes has, stuff where you see the spell start to work. I actually slightly disagree with you, Brian. I like the stuff here with Chris more than I do the early stuff where the spell actually works. His character kind of switches up in this part. Now later, I think it's to a detriment, but at this point, it's kind of funny to see him have to go through this since he was such a dick in the earlier scenes to Sarah. So I kind of like that dynamic. And again, I like the fact that, oh shit, these spells are working. You mentioned the Mean Girls thing, which we keep using that as a comparison because, like you mentioned, you kind of have Sarah becoming more of the center of attention, the way that Lindsay Lohan's character does instead of Rachel McAdams' character. And you kind of have that here with Sarah and Nancy where, their roles kind of flip on who's not queen bee, but who's a little bit more important on the hierarchy in the school and to the other friends, so you kind of start to see that dynamic develop. I think again, I don't have a whole lot on the scene, but I like that they get this point across that the spells are starting to work. And you get the scene with Nev that you mentioned about someone take the scars. I think that's, again, really well acted. I think Nev is probably I won't say the best acting in the film because I think Veruca Salt has I wanted to keep calling her Veruca Salt, so you can cut it if you want. It keeps coming off the tip of my tongue, man.
Fuck it, do it live.
Veruca Balk is great. So I don't want to say it's the best acting, but it's really, really good in this scene. It's emotional, and I feel with her. I empathize with her in this set of scenes. Again, we kind of start to turn on the girls in a little bit, but up until this point, you're with them through the whole thing. I like the stuff here with Nancy at home with the mom and the boyfriend. I think the lightning storm, like all the stuff that happens inside this, I'm assuming trailer, with Nancy getting so upset and so angry that her powers kind of start to happen around them. Stuff explodes and she basically kills the mom's boyfriend. And I like that they end up that's the reason that her spell ends up working, or her whatever she was trying to work on, because they get $175,000, which, by the way, in 1996 was probably worth a hell of a whole lot more than it is now. Still a good chunk of change, but I think you buy a really nice ass apartment for $175,000. Good luck with that, pal. But again, really funny how that all kind of worked out. So I like the set of scenes. I think it's good. I think this is where we start to get some of the interesting dynamics between the four girls. But the story, the next 40-ish minutes, takes so goddamn long to get through. And I think there's just a little too much where you could have trimmed the fat and had a tighter movie. I think that starts to happen after this set of scenes, but pretty good in this set.
Yeah, so first of all, what you said there at the end, I just had to look it up. $175,000 in 1995. I don't know why it says 5 when I typed in 6, but regardless, 1995 was it's about $320,000 today.
There you go.
It's a good chunk of change. So going back to the beginning of this set of scenes, though, I agree with what you said, Mike, and I kind of disagree with what you said, Brian. I like Chris following her around like a puppy dog, and the whole her having fun with it and giggling at it, because I get it. It's not what we're used to seeing with high schoolers, but you got to remember, high schoolers are still kids a lot. So I like it. To me, it preserves some of that youthful innocence that, they killed a hobo earlier, but they still will get their chuckles at stuff like this. So, the juxtaposition of the maturity of them taking on witchcraft and all this responsibility, but the innocence of them still being children. Now, granted, like you said, they're all in their 20s when this film's made, but regardless, I like that touch that they added. And it goes right into the light as a feather, stiff as a board, the levitation scene, same thing. I love that. That's one of my favorite moments from the movie because, that whole childhood, adolescent sleepover, slumber party, and, teenage girls all over the world have done light as a feather, stiff as a board. And, the fact that they actually were floating. Like they all say, "Oh, I felt like I was floating," but it's cool. I like the inclusion here because like when she really was, and I love the mom busting in. That
Yeah,
was
I like that scene too. I left that out, but I do like that a lot.
yeah, and like the great comedic relief of the mom. Are you getting high? Like that shit was so funny. Um, the scene, with Laura and her hair. Man, I agree, Brian. Like it shows that Rochelle's the bigger person. She's not gonna she has the ability to physically hurt her or even end her life. But really, for a teenage girl, what she does is even worse than hurt her end her life because make her hair falling out and all that shit like that. That's like the death sentence for a
Yeah,
vain.
but she didn't even do that. Sarah did that. So I mean,
That's true.
technically, I mean, it wasn't her. I don't think it was in her heart to do that.
That's true. But also, I want to take this second to say that that's well deserved. There's no room for racism, so you get what you get, bitch. But I did like that set. I love this set of scenes. How it shows everybody kind of coming into their own and getting their powers or their wishes. I really love that development that we get here. Like I said earlier, the scene where Bonnie goes to the doctor because she's willing to do anything, even this mildly invasive procedure that may hurt and cause discomfort. She's willing to try anything to get these scars gone. And, they go back to the doctor and scars are gone. But we know that it's not the doctor's reasoning. But imagine being this doctor, though. You think, holy shit, I'm the man. I am the best in my field. Look at these before and after pictures, and you're never able to replicate it. Like, holy shit.
I said that shit too. I was like, man, I would have retired on top like I was John fucking Elway. I'm out the game, son.
Exactly.
I just cured these burns. Peace.
But I do love also from this point forward, you get to see Bonnie, like, her wardrobe changes. And all the girls do. They go through a transformation after their, powers start to come into, getting more prevalent. But hers is really more noticeable because she dressed like such a hobo earlier in the movie and just baggy clothes. And then she shows up to class looking like Stone Cold Fox. So I like that transformation as well because you can really tell what it did to her confidence, not just the fact that she has the ability to do this, but just her actual confidence as a teenage girl. And then lastly, I like the scene with Nancy losing her shit and hulking out, and killing the power and killing her stepdad. Like, holy shit, that was incredible. And then, them coming into the money, $175,000, that's really a game changer for this family, and so I just think this set of scenes is great because they don't seem to be bad people yet. Like, yeah, they killed a hobo. Okay, but that aside, they don't seem to be malicious girls. Like, they're all pretty modest. Like, they could do far worse than what they've done to this point. And so it's kind of cool to get them see them all getting what they want and what they desire. And so from this point, I like the transformation and everything. But I agree, this is the last set of scenes where it's like it's all good to me. This is the last set of scenes to where I don't feel like the runtime drags a little. So overall, though, this is still good.
So getting back to the money thing, like even if it's $300,000 basically of today's money in 1995, do you really think that they could? I don't think that they could get a high-rise condo in the middle of Los
Okay.
Angeles. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on
No.
that. It just kind of was like,
I have the same thing, but I wasn't sure where Nico's notes were going to end. I think that's in the next set of scenes, isn't? Or is that included?
It's up next.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's right up next.
Yeah, no. You're on the right track though, Brian. I had the same thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, California's expensive, and you're not going to be getting these insurance policies yearly. It's a one-time thing,
right?
And by the way, before you go, I want to say I think this is where the movie starts to drag, and I know maybe Brian will touch on it too, or Dustin may. But I think the movie starts to kind of drag right here because of something Dustin mentioned at the end of his scenes, is where you can kind of start to see the character shifts, and no longer are the people that we were kind of rooting for in a way. We're not rooting for them anymore. It's like they all did wrestling heel turns on us slowly but surely. And so I think the movie kind of starts to drag at that point to me. But sorry, go ahead.
All right, Bonnie hits on a guy as they walk into Nancy's new apartment building. Place I just read the place is nice as hell. They love the view. They're living the good life. They have a jukebox and every record is Connie Francis. They all go to Nancy's room now, and she shows the ladies an article they may like. Glamour is something to fool an onlooker. It's one of the oldest forms of magic. They begin the ritual now in the chant. Nothing happens except Sarah's eye color changing. Sarah asks if they want something bigger. They hold hands again, and she changes her hair color now. They're amazed, and Nancy jokingly asks for a smaller ass. Sarah wakes up when she hears her name called for. She sees Chris sitting outside her window. It's 3 a.m. He says they should move in together, and he says he can't stop thinking about her and he loves her. She says he should go home. Sarah's dad shines a flashlight on him and asks if he can help him. The ladies are back at the shop, and Sarah asks how to undo the love spell. She says it must run its course. Lirio explains real magic and says the only good or bad is in the heart of the witch. Whatever you send out, you get back times 3. Do unto others as you would do unto them. Nancy sees lightning striking in a book and wants to buy it. It's about inviting a spirit. Lirio says she must be experienced. This is very dangerous. We now see the ladies on the beach that looks like the one in the book. They have fish, butterflies, birds, and a snake in jars and cages. They make a bonfire and place a circle of candles around them. Nancy tells Sarah the serpent is a powerful thing that deserves respect. They all stand up and Nancy holds the blade to the sky and begins a chant. All the ladies do the chant now. Nancy cries out for the guardian of the sea to show them its power. Manon, fill me, Nancy cries out. She's seemingly struck by lightning. The ladies wake up the next morning still on the beach. They walk to the edge of the beach and they see Nancy walking on the water. He blessed me, Nancy says. I can feel him running through my veins. They hear sirens now and go to investigate. They see all kind of dead sharks on the beach. Nancy says it's so beautiful. This is a gift. These are my gifts. I'm your daughter now, she says. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so the glamour scene with the girls, I know it sets up shit with Chris later, but man, to me, I think that this should have been like more important, like maybe some setup at the end where Sarah has to glamour one of the girls to defeat Nancy or something. I think it would have been a nice little callback as well as a little bit of a better ending. I think I just made this Mission Impossible, didn't I? Well, okay. Anyway, the text, a little fun fact here, the text of the book, Invocation of the Spirit, that Nancy reads from in the magic shop. I never figure out what the hell to call that. I guess it's a magic shop. Anyway. It actually comes from the Book of Ceremonial Magic by Arthur Edward Waite, apparently a well-known occultist, I guess, to those who study that sort of thing. The book does discuss Invocation of the Spirits, but it's not the focus of the entire book as it's implied here. And I don't have any much else in this set of scenes except this, so I was going to save this for the end, but I'll share it here. So the official website of the film actually said this. It said the crew had to return to the location a second time to complete filming, interrupted by several weird occurrences that even caused witch consultant Pat Devon to raise an eyebrow. As the fog rolled in at midnight, the 4 actresses used actual Wiccan rites and language to invoke powerful forces. Then, as Fairuza Balk's character Nancy attempts to invoke the deity Manon, a flock of bats hovered over the set and the tide rose dramatically, extinguishing the circle of candles. Witchcraft consultant Devon recalls that Manon, a fictitious creation for the film, sounds very close to Mananon, the Gaelic god of the sea. Luckily, we weren't all swept to sea, director Andrew Fleming is quoted. Every time the girls started the ceremony, and only when they would start the ceremony, the waves would start coming up tremendously fast, pounding heavily, and then right when Nancy says her line, Manon, fill me, right at that exact moment, we lost power. It's a very strange thing. Either way, I think that, the way this scene is shot in that circle with the quick cuts, I think is phenomenal. I just think having Nancy walk on the water was a little bit much for me. That's all I had. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either because, like I said, the movie kind of starts to dip here. I did like the line from Nev Campbell's character where she says that he has a cute butt, and the other girl's like, "What are you gonna do? Tell him he has a cute butt? You want to fuck?" Like, okay, damn, man, what are men allowed to have? We're not even allowed to have cute butts anymore, fellas. It's over for the game. It's over for us. ridiculous out here. These new rules. But it's so funny. This new apartment again. I keep relating this movie back to Mean Girls because Nancy's mom kind of feels like I'm not one of the regular moms. I'm a cool mom. Like she has that vibe, even though she's a terrible alcoholic. She has that vibe going on now with her new apartment and her like 80s tracksuit kind of vibe she's got going on here. So I found her to be a little bit ironically funny to me. But the set of scene does have a lot of filler. You know, we kind of end up back at Adam Sandler's drum circle shop here for more, you know, witch stuff. And I don't necessarily not like the character that this woman behind the counter, but she doesn't do a whole lot for me personally. And so she plays kind of a big role in the rest of the film, and that's just not something that has my interest. This is where you definitely see Nancy kind of start to really turn and really kind of be more aggressive and a little more evil. I will say, I think the scene on the beach is well shot. The water looks really cool. All of that stuff. I think, you know, when she's basically struck by lightning, I think all of that stuff looks really good. Again, hokey chants and all that's not really my cup of tea, but I do enjoy the effects, the quick cuts, which Brian mentioned, and a small disagreement. I actually liked the Nancy walked on the water. I think it kind of gave us like a I'm God now kind of feeling, or like I'm Jesus now kind of feel, like worship me. I'm more powerful than anyone else. And so that's the vibe I kind of got from it. So I thought it was a little bit, now, was it ridiculous? Did the effects look good? Do they hold up? No. But I kind of like the idea at least. So that's all I had on this set of scenes.
Yeah, so the first thing I have on this set of scenes is, are we sure that they could afford this residence with $175,000? I get it. Like it's it's $175,000 back then is more. Like I said, it's about $320,000. But California is still very expensive, and I'm not sure that she had a job. So unless she just gave the whole inheritance to pay for this place, I don't think that they would have financed her for it. So come on, get out of here with this shit. I did like the scene where they're like testing out the powers and everything, and she changes her eye color because she thought that was so cool. She's like, my eyes, they're naturally brown, or whatever, however she had said it. She thought that was so cool, and they just shit on her because that's what good friends do. And they're like, no, do something bigger. The hair color looked like shit when she changed her hair to blonde. That didn't look good. If she's wearing a wig already, like I feel like they could have done that better than make the hair. And I didn't know she was wearing a wig until I was doing research for this, and you said that earlier she had shaved her head for Empire Records. So if she's already wearing a wig for this entire role, you could have just used a blonde wig and then done something to make it change into brown, but instead you digitally imposed the blonde and it looked like ass. I love Chris showing up at 3 a.m. Like that shit cracked me up because my man is pussy whipped and has never even got it. So it's hilarious. He's showing up at 3 a.m. asking another high school student to move in with him. Love that shit. The only thing missing is if he'd had a boombox. Nico, that's this big radio they used to play music on. If he had a boombox playing music out,
Breakfast Club.
I'm sure that Chris still asked how the parents are doing even after the breakup, like I do.
God damn it, you're toxic as fuck, Dustin.
I did like it also when Dad's like, "Can I help you?" Like, get the fuck out of here! Like everything about Chris being at the house right here, I love that part. And then you get to the book, the Invocation of the Spirit. I thought it was cool effects, having the pages, the thunder and lightning and the waves moving on the page. I thought that looked well, held up well. Like that looks as good as something you would see in Harry Potter, where the pages also move. So I thought that was good effects for the time. And then when they're doing the shit and they're invoking the spirit, the lightning and everything, I agree that the effects on that didn't hold up well either. Now, for the time, 1996, I can't speak on if they look good at the time, other than just think about other movies that come out But if it's 1996, I'm seeing this in the theater. I don't think I would think it looks that bad. But it's just from this point forward, I think that Fairuza Balk really overacts in some of the scenes, and I'm not necessarily saying that as a bad thing because there's some actors that really overact. Like Jim Carrey is notorious for overacting. Nicolas Cage is overacting a lot, just being overly animated, and I think she does it a lot in this movie. And this is the set of scenes where it starts, but I don't think it's necessarily not because of the powers going to her head, and I think that like it's believable in this instance. So. But the dead fish and the sharks and shit on the beach that cracked me up. They got a whole fucking hammerhead just plopped up on the sand. I love the inclusion of a hammerhead, but she's like, these are my gifts. Like that was kind of funny to me. I don't know why, but I'm like, your gifts, bitch. These dead fish. What are you gonna do with them? But overall, like I said, this isn't a terrible set of scenes, and it has one of my favorite things with Chris being there. So I'm still on board at this point. It's just some of it, I'm like, all right, come on, let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
All right, the girls are driving around and Sarah's complaining about Chris, Bonnie being mean and a narcissist. Nancy is driving reckless, like going through changing the street light so she doesn't have to stop. Nancy snaps on Sarah and asks if she wants to leave the circle. They almost cause a bad wreck as one light doesn't turn green. Rochelle goes into the shower and sees Laura's hair hasn't stopped falling out, and other girls check on her as Rochelle slowly backs away. Chris is on the phone with Sarah and asks her to dinner, saying he needs to talk to her. She agrees to tomorrow night. Sarah and Chris are parked in his car and they're talking. He says it feels like they're one person and now he jokes it off. She asks about the restaurant and he says no. She now asks him where the love he feels comes from. He says he just woke up one day and it happened. He tries to give her a back rub and she says to take him home. She gets out of the car and he chases her now. He's on top of her now, and I wrote he's trying to, it looks like, rape her, but she knees him and runs into the woods. He gets up and chases her. She rings the doorbell and it's Rochelle's house. She brings her inside and she tells her about the look in his eye, like it wasn't even him. She asks where would he be. Nancy says there's a party. Nancy goes to the party to play. A girl tells Chris and he walks to go find her. He asks her if Sarah is with her. He follows her upstairs into a bedroom. He lays in bed and she climbs on top of him. He swats at her when she starts to make her moves on him. Go away as he pushes her. She now transforms her looks to look like Sarah. Chris is tricked and she climbs back on top of him. They begin to kiss as she asks for him to make love to her. We see the other girls arrive now and they walk inside. Laura asks Rochelle, how's it going? And we're back to Chris and Nancy and the real Sarah walks in. Chris jumps up and calls her a witch. Nancy tells Chris he's in love with her because she's a witch too. Nancy says he's got to pay. She gets mad when he calls her jealous, and she says, you don't even exist. You're nothing. You are shit. She calls him a whore, and he apologizes. She mocks his apology, and she launches him out the window to his death. Sarah is now telling her dad she didn't want him to get hurt. He consoles her, saying it was an accident, and she tells him not to touch her and she needs space. Sarah cuts Nancy out the picture of the four of them and folds her up and tapes the picture and binds her from harming other people and herself. Sarah now sees the other three ladies fly into her room as witches, and they're attacking her. She wakes up from the nightmare. Sarah walks into the bathroom at school crying. We see the lock opening, and the girls ask if she's okay. She says she didn't tell the cops anything. Sarah says she's out after Nancy said Ray and Charles and Chris deserved it. I don't know why I said Ray Charles. Sarah says she's out after Nancy said Ray and Chris deserve to die. They tell her she should consider leaving the city and school if she's going to leave the circle. Nancy tells Sarah back in the old days, if a witch betrayed her coven, they'd kill her as they walk out the bathroom. And the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
So this is where the movie starts to go downhill for me. I'm good with it until now. I think especially in this conversation in the car. I mean, that's kind of their almost fork in the road. But the dialogue Sarah has with them, it just doesn't seem natural in my opinion. I mean, she basically insults them, which doesn't seem in character for her. And yeah, they get defensive. So I understand as writers, you need to break them up, but to me, I don't think that's the best way to start it off or do it right there. And the rape scene, Okay, so this is why I have a problem with them showing Sarah basically being super upset over Chris when the second day he knows you, he says he fucks you and you are awful to everyone in school. Now he just literally sexually assaults you and you're clearly upset by it. So Nancy goes to take care of it for you. I mean, which, okay, that makes sense. She's going to rape him while he's drunk to stand up for you. Probably not the route that I'd expect, nor even real sure that's the intention of the writers here because it kind of gets weird in that bedroom. But okay, I get it. So why the fuck are you even upset when she kills him? Like that just seems the opposite of how you should have been portraying these girls. At least Sarah this entire movie. He does all of that and yet you're still upset over him. I mean, plus, honestly, the whole crew should have gone to avenge her, not just Nancy. But regardless, I didn't write the movie, and Feruza is so damn good at that party, and I think the effect of her morphing into Sarah, I think, is very well done. Doesn't look cheesy to me, in my opinion, anyway. But to have this be the straw that broke the group up, like why? A sexually assaulting asshole, and now suddenly all three of the girls are kicking her out of the group and haunting her dreams and bullying her in the bathroom. Which, by the way, what happened if she was taking a shit in there when they busted him? And it's very inconsiderate of them. But look, I get that you have to get to that point of her being exiled out of the group, but how they get there, I just really don't like. And finally we get our last kill of the movie. The kills definitely stink in this movie, which Fleming said they were all shooting for a PG-13 movie and toned it down to get that rating. Yet the MPAA, in all their fucking wisdom and ridiculousness, gave it an R rating anyway because of witchcraft or some shit. Literally no reason to have an R rating. But anyway, that's all I had on the set of scenes.
Yeah, again, this runs on way too long for me. There's too much kind of happening all at once. We don't really know. I think the movie's kind of pulling us in a lot of different directions. We're not quite sure who to pull for, who not to pull for, as far as our rooting interest and who's good, who's bad. I guess that's on purpose. But yeah, I mean, I get Nancy's mindset, but the fact that she kind of morphs into Sarah to do it is really weird. It's an uncomfortable scene. I don't like it. This is Skeet's best acting of the movie to me. He plays it off like someone who has no idea what the fuck is going on here, which as you would, given that the woman that you were making out with has just changed underneath you. That's very odd. So I think that's pretty well done. Again, we finally get we pretty much get the full heel turn here from the other three. That they basically kind of beat her up and not beat her up physically, but they're kind of on her ass. They kind of bullying her verbally, and I just wish there was a little bit more of a setup for that. As long as this movie is, I felt like what's lacking to me is that a little bit more of the nuance from the other two that they're in with Nancy more than Sarah, like just a little bit more of a story behind why these three have decided to gang up on Sarah. Like there's no clear line there. It just happens. And I just wish the movie had a little more. And again, it's a bloated runtime as it is. And so you definitely could have fit something in there if you wanted to. So I think the script maybe just needed to be a little tighter. I'm no writer, but I think I would have done something a little bit different there for sure. And so, but there's some cool shots in this set of scenes. The stuff in the bathroom I think is really well lit outside of the kill being bad. Like, and again, the way that Chris dies is like very, like that's, I don't know. There's something about it that I don't like. Falling out of a window. There's not like a ton of kills in this movie, but the ones we do get stink, like Brian mentioned. I have that in my notes as well. I don't have a lot more on the set of scenes. I just think we're starting to get a little long in the tooth. There's still some really good acting going on. But outside of that, I'm just having a hard time continuing to pay attention. And that's never a good sign in a film.
Yeah, I kind of echo a lot of that. I don't have a lot. I'll just keep mine pretty short and sweet. I do a positive. So we're gonna do a shit sandwich here. We're gonna go positive, bad, positive. Positive. I really like the scene with the red lights where they're speeding through the red lights. Nancy is on this power trip, and all they're all on board except for Sarah. She's like, hey, let's reel it in here. But the other, you can tell that the power is shifting, if you will. They're certainly aligning more with Nancy than they are with Sarah. So I like the seeds are planted in that. They've really been there all along, but I really like they're highlighted in that. However, the bad part of this set of scenes that I absolutely hate is, Chris's whole attempted rape scene there, just because, number one, I don't think, you didn't need it. You didn't have to go that far, I don't think, because you can already tell, he's so obsessed with her that he could pose a threat. I don't think that you needed to imply that much here. You could have just had him obsessing and following her everywhere, turning up everywhere, and her just getting, it being inopportune times and her getting freaked out. That's enough, in my opinion. Positive. I also love the scene where Nancy's, seducing Chris. I think that it's number one, first and foremost, it does a good job of, showing her malicious intent. She has no interest in Chris that we know of, but you can tell that she's never really accepted Sarah from the beginning. She told Rochelle at the beginning, we don't need a fourth, we're good, we don't need her. And so this just furthers that. She was never accepting of her, and especially now that she's kind of distancing herself. All right, I'll fuck your boyfriend, quote unquote. I thought that was brilliant writing. And also, secondly, I think that the effects were really good as well. I agree. I think that, her transitioning into Sarah, I thought it looked good for what it was. So, really, that's all I've got on this set of scenes, other than what you guys have already hammered home. So I'm not going to do that. Other than I will say that this set of scenes is really where I'm like, all right, fam, let's go home.
Yeah, I agree. Bear with me. I got a lot to read because there's kind of a lot that goes on in this last bit. But here's the ending. Sarah goes into the shot with Lirio now, and she tells Leo she don't know where else to go. She says the other girls are trying to use magic against her. Lirio hugs her as she pours out her heart to her. Wind gusts from the back room, and Lirio takes Sarah behind the curtain. We see a temple of power. She tells Sarah she has a tremendous life in her, greater than any witch she's ever known. She tells her she must surrender herself to a higher power to defeat the other girls. She must invoke a spirit and not take it to a dark place like Nancy did. Sarah runs out as she believes Nancy's there. Sarah runs goofily back into her house. She calls for her dad and Jenny to no answer. The phone rings and it's Nancy. She says they're gone. Her parents flew back to San Francisco. She says there's been an accident. It's on the news. Sarah now sees on the news about a plane crash where her parents died. The lights flicker out and Sarah goes outside and sees snakes all over the potted plants and mice and maggots everywhere. Sarah runs back inside and notices the vermin everywhere inside all the different rooms. Rats fall on her and she hides in the shower. Stop it, she yells, and Nancy opens the door. She says she'd have killed herself ages ago if she was as pathetic as her. Sarah walks out the shower, noticing all the snakes, the rats, the maggots, they're all gone. She goes downstairs and asks where's her dad and Jenny. Nancy says she's going to kill herself tonight. The witches all begin to levitate. Nancy says you should kill yourself. You killed Chris, your mom at birth. Rochelle asks why isn't she using magic on them. Nancy says she's weak. Now is the end. Let her go in peace, the three chant. Nancy slices Sarah's wrist as she sees the note saying she killed Chris. Sarah runs upstairs and cleans the blood off her wrist and she cries. She sits on the floor and she stares at the picture of her mother. Nancy tells Rochelle to go check upstairs or she'll slit her throat. Bonnie goes with her and we see Sarah invoke the spirit of her mother and does another chant. Bonnie now has burns on her face and Rochelle's hair is falling out herself. It's now coming back times 3, they say. They run downstairs and outside. Nancy asks where they're going. Don't be afraid. Reach inside yourself, Sarah's mother tells her. I invoke thee, Manon, she says over and over. Lightning strikes. Wind blows everywhere. We see Sarah's wrist cuts heal. Nancy goes up the stairs with the dagger. Nancy calls out for Sarah but can't find her. Sarah is now in the mirror and appears in front of her. Why aren't you dead? Nancy asks. He came to me and saved me, and he wanted me to tell you you're in deep shit. You've abused what he's given you. Sarah asks what happened to Bonnie and Rochelle as we see roaches run out Nancy's sleeves and her fingers turn into snakes. Roaches cover her legs and Nancy screams. Sarah says to relax, it's just magic. Nancy says she knows she's a little crazy. She doesn't mean to be and tries to apologize. I bind you, Nancy, from doing harm against others or yourself, Sarah chants. Nancy charges, trying to stab her. You bitch, I'll kill you, she yells. A drawer slams into the wall against Sarah. Nancy goes to check it out and Sarah's not there. Sarah appears where her uniform was and kicks Nancy into a mirror. I bind you, Nancy. I guess it's the next day we see Sarah outside by her car, full of flowers, as Bonnie and Rochelle apologize to her. They say they never thought it would go that far. They say the plane crash thing on TV was just a glamour. They ask if Sarah still has powers, because they don't. They ask to hang out, and Sarah says to hold their breath until she calls. They walk away, and Sarah causes like clouds to form, and then a branch to almost fall on them. She says to be careful. You don't want to end up like Nancy. We now see Nancy bound to a bed. She's in a mental hospital. She yells she's flying and she had powers, and the film ends with a close-up of Nancy's cut-up face and the end credits roll. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Whew. Yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of the way this movie ends. I like Sarah at the very end, being empowered, but how we get there, I don't know. It's almost like I expected the entire fight scene at the end to be a dream. It was just so bizarre and out of place to me. I don't see how the other two girls can turn against her like that, can turn against Sarah like that, and be totally okay with the way Nancy is acting either. Like Mike touched on, I would have really liked to have seen a little bit more explanation for that, or, not had him do it. According to IMDb, apparently there was a major subplot and scene cut out of this movie where only Sarah has magical powers, and the other girls are merely just a result of their leeching off of Sarah's magic. Also, a big scene where Nancy completely loses her mind, and the other three team up against her. All of which seemed better to me than what we got. Regardless, though, this ending scene involved using over 3,000 snakes, insects, and rats. Robin Tunney was willing to be on camera with all of that, but when the rat falls on top of Sarah's head, they had to use a double for that, which is why it's shot from behind. But the last thing, which I always find interesting, kind of on how they do shit, but the shots of Nancy being covered in bugs, it was actually created by wrapping a life cast of Firuza Balk's head and then upper torso in green screen material. And then the bugs were filmed crawling all over that casting and then digitally composited on top of a live action shot of Balk, which again, I thought was pretty cool. That's all I really had on this set of scenes. Just, nah, could have done better.
I feel like the last number of weeks we've had a few films that are half good. You get to a point in the movie and then the movie kind of starts to nosedive. I feel like we've had a couple of those the last month or two. This falls into that category for me. It had me hooked and then loses me. And by the end, I'm ready for the movie to be over. This set of scenes, a lot Nico, you read a ton and not a hell of a whole lot happens in what you read. Yeah, you have a little bit of fight and dialogue there, but I just don't feel anything that keeps my interest, at least, really happens. The turn on Sarah is out of nowhere. It's kind of strange to me, which I've already covered. Them hovering over her and all of that stuff I thought was just kind of odd, bizarre, just not my cup of tea. Again, some of this stuff is shot really well. The dark, the lightning or the flashing lights and stuff, all of that, I think it looks really cool, but I just don't think there's anything. A lot of it happens way too fast, which is weird for a movie that's way too long. They just didn't set it up as much as I wish they had. They had to kind of rush into the fact that, okay, now these three are evil and this one's nice, and all that. So I don't know. I felt kind of out of left field after the big brouhaha and everything, and the other two girls leave, which I will give credit for the effects on Rochelle's hair and Nev's face. I think they're getting their comeuppance kind of, looks cool. But, and all the stuff with the cockroaches and bugs, that looks really cool too. kind of forget all the bug stuff that happens in this movie, the snake stuff, where her fingers kind of turn into snakes. So that's a nice callback. But outside of a few shots and stuff like that, I just have a really hard time maintaining focus towards the end. I'm looking at my phone. I'm reading funny group text and the don't go out there chat. Like I can't. It was really hard to just focus on this one film. So much so that I rewound it and I put it in my notes. I said had to rewind right here after Bug started running out of her sleeve. So because I kind of missed why the fuck there were bugs running out of the sleeve. So I think that I had a hard time keeping my interest. I like the fact that we get a little bit of a happier ending, but I mean, I think the last 10 minutes or so are kind of forgettable. And I think that's a shame because up to a point, I think it's a really interesting movie with something to say. It has a lot of interesting concepts. I just think it doesn't stick the landing, in my opinion.
Completely agree. Nostalgia did a number on me, like when I was thinking about this movie, because I remember liking the ending a lot more than I did on this rewatch. I remembered, pretty much everything when I was watching it about how I felt, and everything was pretty consistent up until the ending. The ending I remembered liking a lot more. For it to feel as rushed as it did, it took for fucking ever. Like, I think that a lot of it just felt like even the ending dragged, but there was so much going on that it was like at a frantic pace, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
I did like, the callback with the snakes and everything, the symbolism there. So then, it does make sense that Hobo Snake Man showed up earlier, but not really. And just the sheer fact that they used over 3,000 snakes in this scene, I thought was thank God they didn't try to digitally impose those because it would have looked like shit. But you just got so much going on, and I don't. Okay, so you got her parents are dying in a plane crash. Was that real or not? You got her cutting her wrist, and she's like, "This isn't real. This isn't real." Was that real or not? Now, I guess it turned out to be real because we got to see, she turned into Wolverine and healed herself. But I don't like that they hinted at the fact that some of this could be optical illusion magic and some of it could be real, because it just makes it more muddled, in my opinion, and more confusing. I did really like the fact that Rochelle's hair is falling out and Bonnie's scars are now all over her face. I like that, I guess, like as a way to run them off and split up the group. But and some of the fight, quote unquote fight, if that's what you want to call it, the final conflict, some of it was pretty cool. Like, I liked how she kind of sunk into the floor and she was just hidden, and some of it's okay, but it was much ado about nothing. Like, there was a lot going on that they should have either not gone as big as they did or go even bigger. They settled at a weird place. They settled right in the middle. They should have just made it more extreme and outlandish, or just not even gone this and just gave us a more neat bow to tie on the end of this thing. Honestly, the ending, I guess the last two sets of scenes that we've broken down here probably took down the movie's rating a full point for me on this rewatch from what I had expected going in.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
It's disappointing, but not disappointing enough to where I'm just, I hate the movie or anything. So it's just kind of disappointingly disappointing.
All right. Any more final thoughts before we jump into social media questions and comments?
No, sir.
All right. Let's do Twitter first. Shan, she just commented, she loves this movie. It came out when I was in high school, and my friends and I watched it on a constant rotation along with Scream. It's been a little while since I've watched it, but she said she's looking forward to hearing it, and she says it's got a really solid cast. I think we all agree about that. The cast is solid. Facebook, Michelle Mirza commented, "Great pick, Dustin. I've always liked this movie," with a smiley face. And Jennifer Kramer commented, "Happy that it's the original Craft and not the remake. I can't wait." I haven't seen the remake. I'm guessing it's not good.
It's actually a soft reboot. It's like a sequel to this, but it's kind
It's
of
a
you don't have to have seen
requel.
it. Yeah, it's got Fairuza Balk in it as like a little cameo too. So I mean, as Nancy. So I mean, it's a sequel, but it's a reboot. It's a requel.
We don't acknowledge it on this side.
I've never seen it, so
Nor
First
All
time
right,
I'd heard of it, honestly, the first time I heard of it was this afternoon when I was looking up budget and facts. I'll be honest.
well, I remember hearing about it and then looking it up, and I was like, nope, no, that's as far as I got.
All right, here's Instagram. This is the last few comments we have. Elaine M. Grimm from the Gore Girls podcast commented, one of my favorites. And Patrick Maroney, we recently had him on. He commented, the less said about the requel, the better, LOL.
Yep.
So I guess that's what we need to know. And the last one we have is from Elbow.Tyler. To be honest, I don't understand all the hype around this one, so I'm glad you guys are going to discuss it. I'm sorry, but I gotta agree with you, Tyler. I didn't really care for
I
this
think
one
I
either.
can answer that and respond to that, and also shed some light on you. I think this one really is one of those movies like nostalgia plays a lot into it. If you didn't see this movie when you're younger, or much closer to the release date, it's not going to hit like it does.
Yeah.
This movie really feels like The Faculty, and other movies of that time period that have a similar kind of lighthearted feel to it. They all kind of feel the same to me. So if you didn't see it at the time, I could understand you not liking it or getting it.
But I didn't see The Faculty until Brian picked it, and I love The Faculty.
Well, you can go to hell then. You picked his movie, but mine can fuck off. Okay.
I think
we
you
spent
guys
all
know how
day
that
hating on
relationship
Cloverfield. All right, let's go into fun facts. Brian,
I just want to say
kick us off.
that the disappointment in Brian's face with each one of us go our scene by scenes in Cloverfield is still priceless. Just watching his face go from happy at the beginning of the show, by the end of the show, looks like he could murder a man.
For his birthday.
Happy fucking birthday to me.
We love you.
The best part is I got to get this rating up. Brian, you want to kick us off with fun facts?
Yeah. So the Katy Perry song "Dark Horse" from her album Prism is actually inspired by this movie. And the last one I have, Holly Marie Combs was in the running for Bonnie. If you don't know who she is, she would eventually star in Charmed, 1998.
Yep. I got just a couple because we've said a lot of them. So we mentioned the requel. Well, there were plans to release a direct-to-DVD sequel focusing on Nancy. However, those plans were dropped for unknown reasons. And then the last one I've got is Angelina Jolie and Alicia Silverstone were both considered for the role of Sarah. Honestly, most of the time when we go through these, I think they got it right. I think they got it right. But Alicia Silverstone, I think, would have been a huge get for this movie just because, Clueless, and in the 90s, she was like the it girl. So I think that would have just added some more star power. Now, Angelina Jolie obviously had a bigger career than Alicia Silverstone and what was her name? Robin Tunney. She ended up having a bigger career, but at the time, I don't think it would have held as much weight as Alicia Silverstone. And I actually think she would have done a great job. I would have liked to have seen that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not to take away from Robin Tunney. She did great.
Right.
I'll tell you, an underrated Alicia Silverstone movie to me is Blast from the Past. I love that movie. I only got one fun fact, like Dustin. We've said a lot of them tonight. And I think this is the one we need to touch on. Years later, Rachel True opened up about how she was often ignored by the promotional materials despite being one of the film's leads. She was forgotten by press junkets until one of her co-stars phoned the studio to get them to include her. She was also the only one of the 4 actresses not to be invited to the MTV Movie Awards that year. It's pretty sad that...
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It's pretty sad that her character dealt with racism written into the movie, and it's hard to not say that that's not racism, why she didn't get included. Of course it is. Because she's the only black actress, so, I mean, it's got to be...
Well, I mean, I'll take it one step further. Something else I read. So representatives for her warned her not to really get too close with Fairuza Balk when filming this movie because Fairuza had a reputation for being a hellraiser and difficult to work with, and she had a reputation that she was just not something you wanted to associate with. And they felt like the studio would be more willing to accept that kind of behavior from Fairuza than from Rachel, because she is white. So it's just fucked up all around.
Yeah. Damn.
I didn't read about the part about Fairuza, but that's just very sad that they wrote in the movie she's dealing with racism. Then the only black lead actress doesn't get invited to the press and the movie award. That's just obviously we still need more progress. But
bullshit.
let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating.
Whoa.
Oh, Money Mike, I forgot. Money Mike. My bad. We got
dollar bills.
We got into a deep conversation I forgot all about. I'm sorry.
Well, that's a much more interesting conversation than this, but just in case you were wondering, The Craft, released May 3rd, 1996, had a budget of $15 million, ended up with a worldwide box office, $55 million, motherfuckers. Sorry. The Craft made $55.6 million.
That's a lot of money. That's a big return. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure every
that's
movie would love
worldwide.
to make $40 million.
So obviously that's worldwide. Domestic, it made 769. So I mean, it's still pretty good, but you combine the domestic and international, it made really good. It did really well overseas, almost $31 million. So really good overseas, and then yeah, man. That's missing the direct-to-DVD sequel, but we got the damn requel, which I would just honestly, if anyone's listening and you want to do a requel to this movie, just bring the original cast back. That's what everyone else is fucking doing.
Right. I mean, $55 million, that can buy a lot of jukeboxes filled with Connie Francis songs, too. So that's a pretty good come up.
Absolutely.
Definitely not 175,000.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Now let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. Anybody in particular want to go first tonight?
Hell, I can. So I'll go ahead and knock mine out. So as far as my favorite kill, I would have to go with Hobo Snake Man, just because it did start to show that they were coming in their powers and everything, and I like that kind of eureka moment. Least favorite kill would be Sarah's parents. Just because I think it's kind of bullshit. She wrecked the whole goddamn plane.
I don't think that was real though, because her dad was at the end. So I think
right.
that was a fake part.
You're right. Okay.
I think that was like one of those.
That was a glamours.
Yeah. You're right. What am I thinking? Least favorite kill would be the way they killed my hopes with the ending. This movie is one that I really, like I said, nostalgia does it for me. I remember seeing this when it was pretty new. I remember watching it a couple times throughout the years, and it's just one of those ones that I always felt like I'd come back to. It does tell a good tale of high school friendship and teenage drama. Obviously, most teenagers don't deal with witchcraft in their drama, but you get a little bit of everything in this one. I think it touches on a lot of social issues. That's kind of ahead of its time. The acting, the cast is great. Shout out to Breckenmeyer. It's just the last, I don't know, 15% of the movie, 20% of the movie or so is, not as good as the first 80% of the movie. So that takes it down for me. I mentioned how I view this movie much how I view Faculty and other movies of that. I'm going to give it the same score as I give Faculty. I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay, my super quick favorite kill, Snake Bum. Least favorite kill, the Sharks, because what the fuck did the Sharks do? That was pretty fucked up. Anyway, I kind of spoke this whole entire time on my thoughts. I completely agree with Dustin about the nostalgia. I actually rated it a 6.75.
Mike, let me go now. I feel like you're higher than me, so let's end on a better note.
You'll see.
All right, favorite kill. I chose Ray just because his heart attack scene actually looked pretty good and believable. My least favorite kill, I chose Chris just because I don't think it was great because you didn't even see none of it, and I don't think he deserved to die just because he was a high school kid. I mean, maybe he was a bad kid, but he didn't deserve to die. I'm just going to read off a little paragraph I wrote. Chris Stuckman's quote. I'm going to read that first. What I like the most about The Craft is that very few films of the era had women who were given power. That was a rarity, especially in horror. Women in horror were usually running from something, escaping from something. They were very rarely given powers, although they misuse it at times, because flawed characters are more interesting than perfect characters. Despite being written and directed by a man, the movie actually did a pretty good job of presenting badass women who you really enjoy rooting up to a point. I agree with that statement 100%. I see the points the movie was trying to make. The cast is likable. I like the ritual scene in the woods after the bus ride, and I like the light as a feather scene, but not much more really. It's just not my style of witch movie. You know, I like The Witch better, something like that, or Autopsy of Jane Doe. I really like that one better.
Halloween Town, I know.
No, Hocus
Whoa.
Pocus.
I'm the Halloween Town guy, pal. You watch your mouth for you slander an elite film like that.
I don't know. The movie just never, I don't have nostalgia for it, like you guys said. Nothing really grips me throughout. I feel like it's just, if they're going to be witches, I feel like they should be more evil. They're just like trying to solve their problems in high school. It's like, it just doesn't do it for me. I wrote down 2 scores, so I just went in the middle of it to average it out, and I gave it a 3.5.
Whew, tough.
Dustin,
Tough.
I loved American Psycho and Get Out, though, so that's the important part. It's not personal.
Okay. So, my favorite kill is Snake Bum, Hobo Guy. My least favorite is Chris because again, we don't see anything. I know you guys didn't like or what's his name kind of falls out of the window in Halloween Kills, but I did. I would have liked to see more of it like that, honestly. Just something interesting at least. But yeah, Chris definitely my least favorite. Kind of said what I need to say about the actual film itself. I think it's about half good. You get halfway through, you're invested, and then the movie kind of takes a slow nosedive, going a little further, and then by the last 10 to 12, 15 minutes, it completely lost me. I think there's a lot going on without actually anything going on, and I think that's an ultimate sin that a movie can commit, which is making me bored. Casting's good. I like I always say cinematography, but there was some really good stuff in this movie. Shot really well. I think the music is okay. And again, it's a movie of its time, and I appreciate that time period. Even though I'm a little younger than you two, I have nostalgia for that time period. That's when I started to become pop culturally aware. So things like this movie and the NWO and wrestling and edgier things, I kind of have my fingers on right there around this time period. Scream included, even though I was a little scaredy cat and didn't want to watch it. But all that being said, I gave this movie a 6, flat 6. The last 10 to 15 really brings it down for me. Probably would have been about a 6.5, 6.75, but it's just upon further rewatch, a little too slow and boring at the end here.
So that gives us a composite rating of 5.8125. IMDb,
It's my fault.
IMDb has it at 6.4, so we're within a half point. So I'd say we know what we're talking about.
There you go. There you go.
It's balance.
Balance, brother.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right, man.
Anywho, I've gotten shit talked about the Babadook for 100 episodes, so I can do whatever I want to.
Rightfully so.
Any more final thoughts before we shout out the blood donors and I'll announce my birthday pick?
Hey, the only thing I wanted to ask is just, since this is the last entry in our female lead month, and friend of the show Shan called this movie a bit of a chick flick, what's y'all's favorite? And somebody call it chick flick. What horror, non-horror related? What's y'all's favorite chick flick?
Is a Notebook considered a
Sweet
chick flick?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, the Notebook.
Sweet Home Alabama. Is Sweet Home Alabama a chick flick?
Yes. Sweet Home
Then
Alabama.
1000% Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama, I'll say as well. I'll say that Failure to Launch is a damn good movie.
I like Failure to Launch.
Makes me
Well, we have to see Terry Bradshaw's ass in that movie, and that's unfortunate, but yes.
I'll say another
We didn't need an answer to
movie that I really fucking enjoyed when we watched it, when we reviewed it. The Final Girls, man. That was fucking awesome. Does that count? So,
Yeah.
There you go.
Brian, I got 2 more honorable mentions for you, Answer. One
All right.
more non-horror I would say is He's Just Not That Into You. I really like that movie. And if we're going with a horror with all women, I would say The Descent. I like that one.
I think mine's Bring It On, or
Ooh,
Pitch
nice.
Perfect 2.
Nice.
Pitch Perfect 2, I think I really like Pitch Perfect 2.
I like yeah.
Stanfield.
As long as somebody said Fever Pitch with Fallon and Drew Barrymore, I would have left immediately.
Who's that?
God.
I enjoy that movie.
I love that movie.
All right, I'm out. See you guys.
That movie's fantastic.
You got to be kidding me.
That movie's fantastic.
Does
Anyway.
this train wreck with Amy Schumer count? I don't like Amy Schumer, but that movie's funny, and John Cena is fucking hilarious in that movie.
John Cena is
never
funny
seen
in that movie.
Never heard of it.
I just don't like
There are
Amy
50
Schumer.
First Dates in there too. I love that movie as well.
Yeah.
Sisters with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, fucking hilarious movie.
That is
Not
funny.
for me.
And John Cena is funny as shit in that one.
Now, John Cena is funny in that movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have something you want to say, Mike?
Yeah, really quick. I just want to say, first of all, female lead month was really cool. A really cool idea that we did. Obviously, we maybe we could have saved it until Women's Month, but that's okay. We started off the year the right way. What I wanted to actually say was, I think horror, the genre itself, over time, and I know there's the final girl trope, and there's been a lot of things said about, poor representation of women in horror movies, and, they're kind of the, either evil or they're, slut-shamed in horror films and stuff like that. But what I do want to say is I think horror gave women their first real platform to be strong lead characters, going all the way back to Sally Hardesty and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, Halloween, all the way back into that era of film. I really do feel horror gave a really good platform for strong female lead characters to take charge in their films. And I think horror needs to be recognized for that sometimes. As much crap as it gets, and rightfully so in some cases, as far as how it presents women, I do think it gave a general, this I keep saying the word platform, but this way where they could kind of become the main character of a film, which up to that point was hit and miss in other genres. And so I think horror deserves a little clap for that. So that's what I had to say about female lead month. I think it was a really cool idea, and I don't think it'll be the last time we do it, because I have two films in mind that I really want to wait until the next time we do it.
Oh, I agree 100% with what you were going to say, Mike. I was actually going to make like a photo collage of all the lead ladies of these movies and basically say what you said. I agree with 100% with you, Mike. Let's shout out our blood donors, our camp level reoccurring, our Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, and Eric Doolittle. Our camp counselor reoccurrings are Hunter Nelson, Karen Shan Petrosevich, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, and Joe Swinford. Our legendary blood donors we have film reviews to do for are Missy Wall and Sarah Irwin, the better of the two Irwins, I was told. And our final girl donor is Danny C. Naps. Just want to say, like we say every week, we really appreciate all of our fans. We really appreciate our blood donors. Y'all really help us out a lot. Take a big burden financially off of us to make this show. So we're glad you love it and you keep supporting us. Real quick, next week is my birthday pick. If anyone were to say this movie's not horror, I totally would not argue with you. But I feel like this movie falls into that 7 kind of category, the crime kind of horror. It's a thriller for sure. But the reason I picked it just because this movie has so many different horror elements. It's got, I'll go to it deeper later, but it's got so many different subgenres of horror inside of this movie. And it's one of my favorite movies, like, period. But we're doing Law Abiding Citizen.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Okay.
Great movie.
First of all, it's your birthday pick. You can pick whatever the fuck you want. You could have picked Jingle All the Way for all I care.
That's a damn good movie.
You come into my house. You put the star on my tree. Sorry.
Hey, just want to say thank all our fans. We really appreciate it. And you can't fight fate. Just want to remind everybody.